Season 2 of The Batman is here. Last time we were here, I went over how great the 2004 cartoon was. The Batman, in my opinion, is such a good show that rivals the original animated series for me. Others who grew up with the Tim vs. Batman may disagree, but I think the show is great. And Season 2 just reinforces my point. This season is just as good as the first one, with great stories, more villains, and amazing action. With all that said, I'm Rocko from Reamlore, and let's dive in. By the way, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe because we upload videos just like this one on our Reamlore channel. Episode 1, The Cat, the Bat, and the Very Ugly. Our first episode of Season 2 sees our favorite cat lady breaking into a museum looking for her latest steal, a crystal cat statue. She has some competition though, as Penguin shows up wanting the crystals as well, while also bringing his Kabuki girls. I also have to bring back the Arkham escape counter, where I tally up every time a villain was put in jail, but breaks out. It rolls up to 4 because Penguin was thrown in jail last season, but for some reason he's walking around, and we never learned how he got out. Because Catwoman is hot, they agree to form a partnership to steal the other piece of the crystal collection. Yep, the theme of Season 2 is villain team-ups, where bad guys introduced in Season 1 and this season interact, which does lead to really great stories. I mean, Batman's Rogues Gallery is the very best in all of comics, and seeing these characters interact is great. Plus, Penguin and Catwoman together is reminiscent of the two interacting in the Batman Returns movie. It's a good callback. The police are investigating the scene where Yin is looking into it, realizing that Catwoman was here and had some help. This is when Batman shows up and Yin leads the cops out of there. Batman finds some leaves on the floor and takes it to the Batcave to examine it. While in the cave, Bruce tells Alfred he's actually happy to have this partnership with Yin before Batman finds dandruff from Penguin's birds. Bruce finds the other Jade relic and heads out to stop Penguin and Catwoman. Catwoman and Penguin are brainstorming ideas on how to get inside, and it's clear Catwoman is just playing Penguin to steal both jewels. At the museum, Penguin's birds take out the security as the bad guys sneak in and find the jaded statue. Right before they can make a trade, Batman shows up and they have an awesome fight, but Batman can't beat them both by himself, so he gets knocked down. A shocker happens next as Penguin double-crosses Catwoman, saying he's been playing her the whole time. I love this. We're so used to Catwoman double-crossing other people, and seeing Penguin get the better of her shows this version is highly intelligent and a real threat. The Kabuki girls then come back and knock out Catwoman. After that, Penguin handcuffs Catwoman to Batman with a bomb inside before escaping with both jewels. Batman disarms the bomb but can't get the cuffs off without the key. The two get away in the Batmobile and track Penguin down to his hideout. They find out Penguin plans to use the jewels to harness the power of the sun to ransom money away from Gotham, planning to scorch the city if they don't comply. Penguin sets up in a lighthouse and uses the power to demonstrate he can destroy the city. Batman and Catwoman find the lighthouse and have a fight with the Kabuki girls. And again, I ask, what is their deal and why are they still here? I said in my first video reviewing this series, they don't fit Penguin's aesthetic at all. The Bat and the Cat beat them to meet the Very Ugly. Penguin uses the machine again, but they direct the explosion to the ceiling. They get the key and free themselves, which is when Catwoman betrays Batman, but Bats thinks fast and handcuffs the bad guys together. They get away though, as Batman calls Yin, who had been helping him the whole time, and that the statue should be kept apart, ending the episodes. That's the end of episode 1, but how does it rank? Characterization, I'm giving a 5. Everyone is really strong here, including Penguin being the standout, outfoxing Catwoman. Plus we get Bruce admitting he's happy he has a partner to watch his back. Story gets a 4. I will always enjoy a good callback to the Batman Returns movie, and the story of these two teaming up is great. The only thing dragging it down is the random magic jade statues. I could have done without that. Entertainment gets a 5. It is fun times all around with many funny and action-packed moments. Importance gets a 3. I mean, for episode 1, this isn't really super important, and you can skip it honestly, but it still is fun. The only main complaint I have overall is that I don't think this episode should have opened the season. This is the standard filler episode, and in the next episode we get introduced to the big antagonist of Season 2. Hint, hint about who it is. Episode 2, Riddled. The cops and Batman are looking into a bomb threat which has no trigger, just a word game. Yin and Batman work together as Batman figures out it's a riddle and answers it. The bomb deactivates, and this is when we meet a hologram of the Riddler, who appears and wants to know who solved his riddle. As you can see, I am a big fan of the Riddler, and this is my favorite version of the guy. Being reimagined as a riddled crazy criminal terrorist, this version of the Riddler is all time with this amazing characterization we'll see in this episode. He's played by, I kid you not, Robert Englund. Yes, Freddy Krueger himself, who has done a ton of work in horror movies and has one of the scariest voices ever. Yin steps forward to take credit for solving the riddles as Riddler introduces himself through the police radios. He says Yin is qualified to play a battle of wits, puzzles to solve throughout Gotham alone. He warns Chief Rojas and the rest of the police that if anyone helps her, Gotham loses big time. Yin and Batman go to Gotham Bridge where Yin finds Riddler's van. Yin goes inside and learns bombs are planted around the bridges, as Riddler said she had a hard drive over here and she has to solve the puzzle. Chief Rojas, the real villain of the show, says screw Riddler and tries to intervene despite him literally saying there will be consequences if he does that. So now Yin has to solve the riddle while the van is driving. Batman helps her through it and solves the puzzle just before the bomb goes off. Yin demands to know what Riddler wants, but he just says knowledge is power before sending Yin to solve his next riddle. This is the episode that should have started the season. While the Catwoman Penguin episode was fun, this just sets the stage for what this season could be. Even more intimidating bad guys along with a new dynamic of Batman working with Yin unbeknownst to the police. Yin and Batman work together to solve all of his riddles before ending up in the museum where Riddler says she's boring him and she couldn't be further from the truth. While Yin figures out the riddle to this question, Batman realizes something. He figures out what the Riddler is really after by remembering what he said. Knowledge is power. Hard drive over here. Far away from the truth. Boring me. Batman realizes those were clues to figure out what the Riddler was actually planning. Batman reveals that the bombs were fake and that Riddler is done playing, leading them further from the truth all night. Turns out all of these riddles and fake bombs were a distraction from the real goal, as we see Riddler and his goons had drilled into the city's mainframe, and this all makes sense. Knowledge is power, as in Riddler wanted to know bank account numbers. Hard drive over here is talking about the hard drives. Far away from the truth, saying they were far away from the city's mainframe. And boring is also used to describe digging, as in a drill boring its way through to somewhere. So why did the Riddler do all this? As Batman explains, riddles are his compulsion. He always has to tell riddles, even when they hurt his plans. I love that. Riddler is Batman's smartest enemy, smarter than even the Joker. The reason he keeps getting defeated though is because of his quirk. He has to tell riddles. He has to prove he's the smartest in the room, and Batman exploits that to defeat him, which makes Riddler such an awesome antagonist to the Caped Crusader. Yin tells him to surrender, but Riddler goes on saying he knows Batman has been helping her, and that distracting him was the main goal, not the dumb police led by their even dumber police chief. No argument there, buddy. Batman steps forward saying the game is over, but Riddler jumps the pair and uses knockout spray to take them down. Later, the pair wake up in Riddler's lair restrained and tied to a machine. Riddler brought them here because he wants to know who the Batman is, but unmasking him is too easy, so they're going to play 20 questions so Riddler can figure out who Batman is, which is such a Riddler thing to do. Riddler shows off his invention, a lie detector connected to an electricity ray, which will zap Yin every time Batman lies, the voltage spiking with every lie. Riddler gets close to figuring out his identity, but the pair manage to escape and go after him. They split up with Yin going after Riddler's men while Batman goes after the Riddler. Yin takes down all of Riddler's henchmen as Batman fights the Riddler. Riddler gets the upper hand, but Batman, being the ninja, takes down the Riddler. As he is being taken away, Riddler tells Chief Rojas that Yin is working with the Batman, but Chief Rojas doesn't believe it because he's an idiot. The episode ends with Yin looking at the city knowing that Batman is out there somewhere watching her back. This was an all-time great episode and one of the best this series has produced, giving a very good take on the Riddler. I'm giving characterization a 7. Not only is everyone really strong in this episode, but the Riddler is a treat, showing off many sides to his character and making him a very compelling villain. The story gets a 6. I love the race against the clock angle of trying to stop the Riddler, and it does great at tying Yin into the action by having her and Batman solve the riddles. Entertainment also gets a 7. I had so much fun with this episode. It is a delight. Having Robert Englund voice Riddler and having all these great fights and action scenes is incredible. Importance gets a 5. It is the debut of the best version of the Riddler. You owe it to yourself to witness how great he is. Episode 3, Fire and Ice. We open with Gotham experiencing the coldest winter they have ever had, and one returning Firefly stealing stuff. Bring back the Arkham Escape counter. Firefly was in jail last season, and now he's just free, so it rolls up to 5. The cops try to stop Firefly, but they're cops and he has lasers and a jetpack. Batman arrives and they have a fight. Bats launches a batarang onto him as they fly into the air. Firefly, showing off he's smart, lights up a gas truck and swings Batman into it before flying off. Batman somehow survived being blown up, and the cops show up to arrest Batman. He doesn't have time for this though and summons the Batmobile to ride off. Yin investigates the crime scene as Batman calls, wondering what Firefly took from the tech lab. Firefly goes underground and returns to his partner, Mr. Freeze. So bring back the counter again, it rolls up to 6, but I don't care. Mr. Freeze and Firefly are back and their fire-ice dynamic is great. First off, Firefly gave Freeze an ice globe which made him furious before giving him what he actually wanted, some tech. Mr. Freeze Freeze gets mad that Firefly encountered Batman, but says they will still extend the winter and they can shake down Gotham. At Wayne Manor, apparently Bruce plays Space Invaders? Another one of his controversial hobbies, I'm sure. Alfred tells Bruce about the police gala and asks why Bruce is hosting it since the police don't like Batman. Alfred figures out Bruce is doing this because he wants the police to accept him, and that's another part of Bruce's character that I really like in this show. He doesn't hate cops, it's just they haven't been enough to eliminate the criminal element in Gotham. He wants to have a good relationship with them and doesn't want to be a criminal fighting the police. Bruce gets an alert that someone is robbing Wayne Industries, and it's Mr. Freeze, freezing the place up to steal some liquid nitrogen. Batman shows up and they fight, with Freeze dropping a massive ice pillar on him. Freeze tries to shatter Batman with his ice pick, but Batman throws a batarang into the liquid nitrogen tank, which gives him the time he needs to grab the ice pick and break the ice from underneath Mr. Freeze. The Iceman falls down, but he escapes thanks to Firefly. At the Batcave, Bruce wonders what Fire and Ice are doing, but can't worry about it right now as he has to go to the gala. Firefly, meanwhile, reroutes some vents, which Freeze explains warms every building in Gotham. With his cryo accelerator, they can change that as we see the police gala. Bruce is talking to Yin and Rojas. Thankfully, they ditch him as Yin says a lot of police are here. Yin also says she knows Batman's secret, that this police gala event made just for good PR is a front, because Bruce actually does care about this stuff. Back with my favorite guys, Mr. Freeze says the cryo accelerator enhances his powers, and he plans to freeze everyone out of their warm homes and into the cold winter. He's going to do a trial run at the police gala and fires the machine, freezing up the whole place. At the gala, ice shoots out of the radiators and starts freezing everyone there, including Yin and the police. Bruce at the last second activates the Batwave on his phone before he gets frozen too. The signal made his phone go hot and he melts out of the ice. He turns a searchlight onto the police to melt them free. Dude, they need air like ASAP, you can't just leave a heat lamp over them. Bruce suits up and finds Mr. Freeze and Firefly. Batman sees a reset lever and goes for it, tricking Firefly into hitting the cryo accelerator, damaging it. This causes Mr. Freeze to freak out and freeze Firefly solid and stop Batman from resetting the heat system. Firefly frees himself though and goes after Mr. Freeze, a big fight breaking out. This gives time for Batman to reset the system and restore heat to the gala. Mr. Freeze takes out Firefly's fuel tank before Batman heats Mr. Freeze, stopping him. The police all thaw out and find the crooks at their doorstep, and they all look up to Batman, realizing he saved them and the city. Rojas demands everyone go after him, but no one goes after him. Instead, they all cheer him, signaling a change is coming. Characterization for this, I'm giving a 4. Everyone is strong, no complaints there, although I would have liked more character development with Mr. Freeze. The story is a 3. It's the standard team-up story, but it's decent. Entertainment gets a 5. Seeing Batman fight the duo of Mr. Freeze and Firefly is really fun, and the two bad guys work off each other really well. Importance gets a 3. You could skip this, but I wouldn't, because it's the return of Mr. Freeze. Episode 4, The Laughing Bat. This is the most out-of-context opening to any cartoon I have ever seen, as Batman chases down a criminal, but all he did was jaywalk. Batman ties him up as Batman arrives to find the jaywalker smiling. Yeah, the first Batman is actually Joker dressed up as bats, saying, "I am the Batman." So I guess this cartoon did the Batman Who Laughs 12 years before his debut. I kid, this is our good friend the Joker back for another adventure. And no, we never learned how he got out of Arkham, so bring back the Arkham escape counter, it rolls up to 7. Later, Bruce watches a news report about how Joker has dressed up as Batman and now thinks he is the Caped Crusader. But he's not going after serious criminals, just people doing minor offenses like littering and driving for 3 blocks with their turn signals on. Bruce isn't worried about being impersonated, but he is worried because his Joker antidote didn't work on the jaywalker, meaning this is a new strain of the Joker gas. At City Hall, we see Joker Batman going after the mayor. Great to have Adam West back. Joker says the only people he's after is criminals, but finds loopholes in his logic. Because he gassed 3 officers chasing after a criminal because they were speeding. I secretly love this version of the J-Man. He also hands the mayor a bill for his services, which is $1 million, because crime fighting isn't cheap. He says pay up or else, and mentions the biggest disappointment he's had was with the mayor's wife. Oh boy, it's not what you're thinking, get your minds out of the gutter. He gassed her because she had 11 items and a 10-item checkout. The villain? I love Joker Batman's outfit, by the way. It's not on straight, the ear is flopped down, and he's still not wearing shoes. Honestly, if you wanted to argue this was the funniest episode of the Batman, I would not disagree. Turns out he hung the mayor's wife outside so he could see her smiling face. Yes, He was hanging people outside the mayor's window before Heath Ledger made it cool. Joker then tries to take down some little girls because they were drawing chalk on the street and he called it vandalizing, but Batman arrives to stop him. He says the costume party is over as Joker explains he couldn't take losing to Batman over and over again. So he thought if he couldn't beat Batman, he would become Batman, and one of them has to go. I also love how Joker couldn't replicate Batman's gadgets, so he made knockoff versions, which look pretty cool, honestly. The fight is awesome, with really good animation and choreography. Joker gets the better of Bats and says Batman needs a Joker, someone to give him purpose. Batman needs a Joker, so he's gonna turn Batman into Batman Joker. Joker uses a robot snake to bite Batman and inject him with Joker venom, which will transform him. I was just joking before. We are actually seeing the birth of the Batman who laughs 12 years before he showed up in the comics. This is almost an exact abridged version of his origin story. At the Batcave, Bruce says he doesn't feel bad, but instead feels a bit chipper and actually cracks a bad joke. Alfred runs some tests as Bruce goes to see the mayor, who is worried about his wife. Bruce says he'll write a check to help pay off the Joker, but during this he tries desperately to hold back his laughter and realizes what the Joker venom is doing to him, laughing uncontrollably. He even laughs at some guy in a wheelchair. They managed to slip in a dark joke in this kids show. Bruce gets the lab results and sees that the Joker venom attacks the nervous system until his heart stops from laughing. Bruce can't smiling now and has the antidote, but he needs the Joker venom to complete it. Bruce also shows Alfred he has an hour left to live as we see Penguin breaking into the art museum, which is hosting a collection of priceless eggs. Alfred tells Bruce to let the Penguin go and focus on the Joker, but he thinks if Joker is playing Batman, he'll be there to stop Penguin. I am not bringing down the Arkham escape counter though, because if you remember, Penguin did escape with Catwoman the last time we saw him. We also see Joker in his casual clothes, and I can't handle it. He's dressed like freaking Hugh Grant, and his Batwave is a Joker version of the Bat Signal on a Dell Inspiron laptop. This may secretly be the best episode of the Batman. Joker suits up and rides on his Bat go-kart, it just never stops, and he races to find Penguin. Said Bird gets the golden eggs and makes a run for it, running down an alleyway and sees the Joker dressed up as Batman, and is very confused. Penguin is also upset that the Joker is getting in the way of his score. He doesn't get involved when Joker tries to gas Gotham, because it's professional courtesy. Joker calls Penguin the second biggest criminal, which makes him upset, and they honestly have a really entertaining fight. Batman arrives laughing like crazy, making Penguin really lose the plot, and they both demand Penguin hand over the eggs. So now we have the most ridiculous fight in the entire series, because we have Batman slowly turning into the Joker, fighting Joker impersonating Batman, fighting the Penguin, who is super confused. Wow. In the fight, the golden egg shatters, so Penguin takes the robot snake, thinking that if Batman wants it, the can must be valuable. Penguin tries to fly away, but both Batman and Joker stop him with the same moves. The fight continues with Batman knocking Joker off the ledge, and Penguin opens the canister, which infects him with the Joker venom. Batman hangs Penguin over the side as Batman starts running out of time. He fights Joker for the snake, and Joker tells a dark joke, which gets Batman laughing. Joker thinks he's won, but Batman took the fangs out of the snake and creates the antidote, curing himself. Now that he's better, he easily beats Joker and tells him a joke, which reverts the Joker back to his old self. How does this one rank? Characterization, I'm giving it 5. Everyone is great in this episode, Joker being the standout with some of his best bits. And Penguin is good too, being very confused by all of this. The story is getting a 6. The idea of the Joker becoming Batman and Batman becoming the Joker is such a cool concept. I'm surprised there aren't more stories like this. Entertainment, I'm giving a 6. I had so much fun watching this episode. I laughed out loud while watching this by myself. That's when you know something is really funny. Plus, the animation is so good for this episode, it's criminal. Importance gets a 4. It's not vitally important, but this is the Joker in his season 2 debut, so I think it's worth a watch. Episode 5, Swamped. Spoilers for this one, this is not a very good episode, mostly because of the story revolving around its main antagonist, Killer Croc. I was so excited when I learned Killer Croc was going to be in the Batman. He's one of my favorite bad guys in Batman's Rogues Gallery, a giant mutant crocodile struggling with his mutation, turning him into a monster, both physically and mentally. An unstoppable monster Batman struggles to beat every time they go against each other, and it's an epic battle every single time. And he could not have been a bigger disappointment in this show, because instead of being the cool monster we all know and love, he's this uninteresting, non-threatening southern idiot with the master plan to flood Gotham because he's a southern crocodile. The disappointment on my face when I realized this was their interpretation of Killer Croc. I couldn't be more upset. Like, I'm not saying you had to go with the tragic monster angle, but give him something more interesting. Maybe this is how he was in the comics. I haven't read many comics about him, but come on. This is probably why he only had one more appearance after this, and it was as a villain team of D-listers. The only cool thing about this character is who plays them. the legend himself, Ron Perlman, who is one of the coolest actors to ever live. I know him as one of my favorite villains of all time, Slade from the Teen Titans, and he does his best here, but there is no depth to this bad guy. It is a botched adaptation. This starts off really promising too, because we see Killer Croc swim into Gotham through the canals, and Gotham has canals apparently, and he forces some criminals to join his gang by beating them up. After the theme song, we have Bruce in the Batcave trying to figure out what these criminals are doing after stealing explosives and jet skis. In the background, Alfred is taking all of the evidence Batman collected from his cases and displaying them as a museum, which is an iconic part of the Batcave. Bruce in that moment figures out the pattern with these robberies. They were all done near canals, so he rides off in the Batboat to investigate. Batman finds the criminals hijacking a ship and stealing their cargo. Batman gets into a fight with the goons as Killer Croc watches before getting in himself, the fight spilling into the river. After dragging Batman to the bottom, Croc makes his escape, but Batman gets to the surface. Back at the Batcave, Bruce sees a news report of flooding and gets alert that the bad guys are robbing the bank submerged in water. Batman heads out on the Bat jet ski, yes seriously, to intercept Croc and his gang on jet skis. Croc sends his goons off in different directions as he battles Batman in a pretty epic jet ski fight. Killer Croc does get the advantage though when one of his goons distract Batman. Killer Croc gets away again, but Batman captured one of the thugs who explains Croc is ex-military and doesn't know how he got mutated, spewing out a bunch of different theories. So the creators of this show couldn't even be bothered to come up with an origin story for the guy? Fantastic. The thug, who is played by Jim Cummings by the way, famous voice actor, says that Croc is planning on super flooding the whole city and tells Batman where Croc is. Batman heads out on his jet ski, which can also transform into the Sea Treader thing. It's really cool. Batman finds all of the stolen goods as well as the schematics for Gotham's canals. Killer Croc arrived as Batman figured out his plan, to use the pump systems to pour water from the bay into the canals flooding Gotham, allowing him to pilfer the riches. Batman tells Croc if he does this a lot of people will die, but he doesn't care. Yeah, Croc is very one-dimensionally evil and not even in a fun way. He just has no depth to him. He wants money, that's all. Killer Croc leaves Batman with his pet crocodiles, but Batman easily stops the wild animals. At the pumps, Croc is reversing the pull, but Batman arrives and punches him around like nothing before taking out the thugs. That is really dumb. Batman is strong, sure, but he shouldn't be able to kick around Killer Croc so easily. He's supposed to be an unstoppable monster. Downtown starts to flood, but Batman puts the valve back in its proper place before the fight continues. Batman pretty much effortlessly takes down Killer Croc and reverses the flooding outside. In a last-ditch move, Killer Croc tries to drown Batman by dragging him into the water, but Batman remembered something about crocodiles. While they can hold their breath for a long time, they can't breathe underwater and have to come up for air eventually. So Batman equips a breathing device and stops Killer Croc from getting air until the bad guy passes out, and revives him once they get back to the surface. Batman chains up Killer Croc and his thugs for the police before giving Alfred one of Croc's teeth for the collection. Alright, rankings for this. Characterization I'm giving a 1. Killer Croc is a big letdown, being a southern idiot who just wants money. It's a weak character. Batman is also not amazing in this, no developments on his end. The story I'm giving a 1. Even though the stakes couldn't be higher with the entire city flooding, there's just no investment or urgency because of how easily Batman tosses Killer Croc around. Entertainment I'm giving a 2. You get a little something something with the jet ski fight, and the animation is good. It's just not that much fun. Importance I'm giving a 0. You can skip this episode and miss nothing. This has so little impact on the series. The only thing worth mentioning is Killer Croc's debut, but even then you don't really need to see it. Just like before, 4 out of the 5 episodes were very good, and I highly recommend all of them except the Killer Croc one. By the way, if you're new here, make sure to like and subscribe. We upload videos just like this one on our Reamlore channel. We upload a great new video every Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday at 3 p.m, so make sure you're subscribed with that bell pressed to get notified when we upload. The Batman Season 2 Episode 6, Pets. We open in a scientist's lab where he is testing a new device which controls birds. He hears something at the window and opens it to find a bunch of awful birds flying in, including the owl that works for the Penguin. Batman stops this and grabs the bird. They all gang up on him, but in the commotion the device gets destroyed. Batman picks up the remains as the owl steals another control device. Only this one wasn't for a bird, it was for a bat. The birds return to Penguin with the device, and we have to bring back the Arkham escape counter. Because last time we saw Penguin, Batman had him chained up, so he was definitely sent to jail. So the board now rolls up to 8. Penguin starts yelling at his birds saying they are worthless and show off their replacement. A rare condor so vicious even he can't train it. With the sonic device though, he can control the bird. He activates the device and tries to control the condor, saying come to me, but he doesn't respond. We also catch up with Kirk Langstrom in Arkham Asylum, writing formulas on the wall and saying that once he creates his serum, Man-Bat will rule Gotham. Kirk then hears Penguin's call from the sonic device and it transforms him into the Man-Bat. He breaks out of Arkham, so So bring back the board, it rolls up to 9, and he finds Penguin. Penguin freaks out, but quickly realizes he can control Man-Bat with the sonic device. I will also give them credit, they actually showed us how Man-Bat got out. Most villains don't get that kind of treatment when they return. At the Batcave, Bruce says he couldn't track down the birds and wonders why Penguin was doing a tech robbery when his MO is usually riches. He gets an alert about a break-in at the bank, and while on the way, Alfred gets an intruder alert at the Batcave. It turns out to be a raccoon though, so Batman continues on and finds Man-Bat stealing from the bank. Man-Bat wants to kill Batman, but Penguin calls him back with the money, and Batman follows with his awesome jetpack. They have a great fight scene in the air as Penguin tells Man-Bat to get rid of Batman. He destroys Batman's jetpack and flies off with the money as Bats figures out the Penguin is behind this. Penguin puts Man-Bat in a cage and tells him to rest, which transforms him back into Kirk. Kirk sees Penguin's device and figures out that the sonic waves it emits resonated with his sonic detection and activated dormant Man-Bat cells in his system, which is how he transformed back. Penguin doesn't care about any of that and just wants Man-Bat so he can continue getting cash, but Kirk swears the first chance he gets, he is going to kill Penguin. Yeah, Batman's villains never get along. In the Batcave, Bruce figured out how the sonic device worked and fixed the bird one. He thinks if they can capture Man-Bat's frequency, they can free the guy, and plans to use Wayne Industries to lay some bait. Penguin sees the bait, a golden penguin statue arriving in Gotham. He finds the crate and orders Man-Bat to steal it as Batman is listening in, telling Alfred to translate the frequency. Man-Bat grabs the golden statue, but it's too heavy and it smashes to the ground, showing that this was a fake filled with bowling balls. Penguin sees Batman and orders Man-Bat to attack. Alfred finished the frequency and is about to send it to Bats, but the raccoon chews through a wire and shuts down the power. Yeah, the raccoon thing is dumb and we could have cut that out. Batman and Man-Bat fight with Batman getting the advantage because they're on the ground. He tricks Man-Bat into a confined space, but it only stalls him as Man-Bat corners Batman. Fortunately for the Caped Crusader, Alfred restored the power, trapped the raccoon, and sent the frequency to Batman. Batman tells Man-Bat to bring Penguin back to him, Batman captures both bad guys, and returns to the Batcave victorious. Alright, that's the end of this episode, but how does it rank? Characterization, I'm giving it 2. The characters are not well depicted in this, other than Penguin, who shows off he's really despicable. The story, I'm giving a 4. It's a strong story with a cool, interesting narrative, plus they actually show us Man-Bat breaking out of prison instead of him just running around. Entertainment, I'm giving a 4. It was pretty fun, not gonna lie. The classic reluctant villain team-up, well, I guess enslavement, but it makes for great moments. Importance, I'm giving a 1. It is the return of Man-Bat, but really this feels like another Penguin episode, which you can honestly skip, unless you're a fan of the Man-Bat. Yes, now we're getting to the good stuff. Episode 7, Meltdown. We open at Arkham Asylum where the orderlies are working. One of them is bringing Joker some medicine, and it turns out it was Clayface. Yes! Spoilers now, this is one of the best episodes of the Batman, continuing on the Clayface storyline. Let's go! Clayface is here to get revenge on Joker, and Joker has no idea who this is. Yeah, this is the first time seeing Ethan with his makeover. Clayface tries to kill Joker with spikes and swords, but Batman rolls in to save him. Yeah, the other orderly was Batman in disguise. Bat says he's here to help Clayface and throws a freezing capsule at the guy, freezing him in place. While this was happening, Joker escapes with the orderly disguise Batman was wearing. So bring back the Arkham escape counter, it rolls up to 10, but in this instance, I don't care because the story is so good. We have a really good scene next, and it is Ethan's trial as Clayface. The defense called Yin to the stand, and she catches us up on the Clayface story, making the case that the mental torture and chemicals Joker exposed Ethan to made him do those things. The defense then calls the senior psychiatrist at Arkham Asylum, Professor Hugo Strange. Yes! You all know already, but Hugo Strange is a great villain in Batman's Rogues Gallery. A little lesser known than the other famous bad guys, but he is one of my favorites, especially this version. He is played by, believe it or not, Frank Gorshin, the same guy who played Riddler in the Adam West Batman show. The amount of legends they got for this cartoon is insane. They really got an all-star cast. Frank's take on the character too is just the best. He speaks in this slow, creepy voice, and he has this elegant speech that makes everything he says sound important. Hugo tells the court that Ethan is obviously suffering from mental turmoil, both from the Joker's chemicals and torture, but also from the abuse he suffered at the police force, which does not make Chief Rojas happy. Hugo ends his testimony by saying after their many sessions, Ethan is now better mentally and is ready to rejoin society. Dr. Mark Desmond, head of Wayne Tech Biomed, steps up next and says they have been unable to cure Ethan, but they learn the Clayface cells go into remission if he doesn't use his powers. Essentially, if he doesn't use his powers for a long time, they'll eventually go away. Bruce is the last one to take take the stand and says he trusts Ethan like a brother even now and is prepared to offer him a job today as head of security at Wayne Industries. Another shining example of why this version of the Dark Knight is one of, if not my absolute favorite take on Batman. The trial ends with the judge giving his final statement. Ethan will be released on probation with the asterisk he will continue his therapy, not use his powers, and take tests to make sure he's not using them. Chief Rojas storms out because he's a piece of trash as Ethan reunites with his friends. It's such a nice moment. You feel glad after what happened Ethan is able to put his life back together. Bruce takes Ethan to Wayne Industries security room and shows this is not going to be a picnic as there is a lot of Wayne Industries, including millions of dollars worth of art. They meet Weber, the day shift supervisor, and Bruce leaves Ethan to his job as Weber says it must be nice to have a billionaire buddy to fix his mistakes. Great storytelling, by the way. You can already see what this episode is going to be about, as the other guards refuse to make eye contact with Ethan because they are scared. Ethan gets coffee with Yin where he admits he misses being a cop, fighting for justice, keeping people safe, but Yin reminds him what the job did to him. Ethan tells Yin even though it was tough, it was his identity, who he was, and that's tough to just give up. Ethan also hears the whispers of everyone in the coffee shop, people saying they shouldn't have let Clayface out, and all of this makes Ethan wish he could just disappear. While at the grocery store, Ethan sees Chief Rojas nearby and transforms into another person to avoid him. Later he's mad with himself because if they found out he used his powers they would throw him back in jail, but quietly admits it was fun avoiding Rojas. Ethan turns on the TV to get his mind off things and sees a news report about Joker stealing again. The news reporter asking who can stop Joker. Ethan goes into work early the next day secretly working to find the Joker. After his chemical test, Ethan goes up to a roof and sees Joker running around with more stolen goods. Ethan pins him to the wall, but Joker throws them both off the building, stopping his fall with robotic shoes. He drops Ethan to the ground and goes splat, reverting to Clayface to save himself. I also want to mention this has been one of the only times we've seen Joker in his straitjacket outfit. Normally he's always wearing the suit, and I'm happy to see it again. Joker figures out Ethan and Clayface are the same as they get into a pretty cool fight, with both of them on stilts. Joker escapes into the sewer as Batman takes Clayface away from the scene. He transforms back into Ethan and Batman tells him that was wrong. Ethan says he tracked down the Joker, not Clayface. He just reared his ugly head. Ethan was on that rooftop earlier because he figured out that's where Joker was going to be. Ethan says he's not trying to get revenge. This is about making sure what Joker did to him never happens to anyone else, which makes Batman remember the vow he made to his parents. Of course, Ethan is still out for revenge though, or rather he wants to feel like he's doing something good again, which is not good because he keeps turning into Clayface. Batman lets Ethan go but tells him he will deal with the Joker. The next day, Bruce confronts Ethan, saying that the doctor found his Clayface cells active again. Bruce convinced the doctor not to be hasty and bust his parole, but warns Ethan as his friend if he uses his powers anymore, he might permanently become Clayface. Ethan admits that he slipped and it won't happen again. Later that night, while on guard duty, Wayne Industries gets a visit from the Joker who attacks Weber. Ethan sees this on the camera, but instead of ringing the alarm, he goes down to stop Joker himself. Weber does hit the alarm though, which alerts Bruce as Clayface attacks Joker. They are joined by Batman, who asks Clayface why he's here. Clayface explains since there are no cameras here, he thought he could get away with being Clayface as he and Batman stop the Joker. Batman asks Clayface to give up, but he says now they have to fight. Because Batman saw him, he needs to get rid of the witness. Batman tries to reason with Clayface, but it's not working. Batman tries the ice capsule again, but Clayface was ready this time. He starts slamming Batman around, and Joker tells Clayface he makes a much better villain than Vigilante. Clayface actually agrees and takes the valuables Joker stole and doesn't respond to Batman calling him by his real name. Clayface tries to make a run for it, but Yin arrives to stop him from stealing. Batman arrives and says it's not too late, but Ethan says it is too late. He goes into this deep, awesome dialogue, saying that being Ethan Bennett is hard, but being Clayface? That's easy. That is what this whole episode has been about. The difficulties of reforming yourself, or in Ethan's case, literally reforming yourself. Once everyone knows you committed a crime, most people don't want anything to do with you. It's hard to get a job, hard to make friends, hard to live a normal life. If people view you as a monster, why try so hard to act differently? It's a trap a lot of people fall into if they aren't willing to persevere and keep trying. You can get redemption, it just takes time and a lot of work. But then again, it's easy to lean back into a criminal life. You start getting tempted more and more to use your skills for villainy, which is captured so perfectly in Clayface. He has the power to look and sound like anyone. He can morph his body into a dangerous weapon no normal person can hope to fight against. And he has shown again and again that Batman and Joker, the two best fighters in Gotham, can't beat him in a one-on-one fight. And seeing Ethan, a good dude who we followed throughout season 1, get his life back together only to fall into these traps is heartbreaking. I want to make it clear, by the way, I'm not making excuses for criminals. There is no excuse for committing a crime. No excuse for hurting people or stealing their stuff. And we get a tear-jerking scene next as Ethan starts to morph again, telling Batman and Yin to take a good look at him, because this is the last time they will ever see Ethan Bennett. Batman and Yin look absolutely destroyed as they watch their friend Ethan vanish, leaving only Clayface. Turns out in the commotion, Batman passed Yin another freezing capsule, and she throws it at Clayface, who can see Yin has a new partner now. Joker and Clayface are locked up in Arkham Asylum, but it's not a happy ending. Bruce and Yin both agree that Ethan passed the point of no return, that they've both really lost their friend, and Clayface is the only thing remaining. It's a shame down the line they undo this dramatic change, but I don't care about that now. I care about this being one of the best episodes of The Batman. This is another shining example of why I think this cartoon is the very best Batman show. I was so emotionally destroyed by the time the credits rolled. It is such a dramatic and awesome story with serious consequences that even the most jaded fan can appreciate. Characterization, I'm giving a 7. This is peak character writing for the Batman. Ethan is portrayed brilliantly, struggling to not be Clayface, and everyone else is exceptionally good as well. Bruce, Yin, Joker, Strange, they're all amazing. The story is also getting a 7. The story of a criminal fighting his vices is always interesting, because you never know if they're going to conquer their vices or fall back into them. Entertainment gets a 5. The fighting is just as good as always, making the serious episode fun as well. Importance is getting a 6. I mean it when I say this. This is a must-watch episode of any Batman cartoon. You owe it to yourself to watch it. Episode 8, JTV. So we go from super dramatic and emotional to fun times galore with this episode. We open at Wayne Manor, where Bruce is enjoying a basketball game on his TV. Calm down, internet. When it is interrupted by Joker, who is out of Arkham again. I should really start a separate counter for this guy getting out. Bring down the board, it rolls up to 11. Joker is broadcasting to all of Gotham and says every time he brings his comedy to Arkham, he's met with silence. Since the media focuses on the tragic side of his career, he's broadcasting his own show, Joker and the Mayor. It premieres on the pirate network JTV as soon as he abducts his co-star. And to be honest with you, put your hands up if you would watch JTV with this version of the Joker. My hand is staying up. Batman and Yin head out to find the Joker, and Yin is joined by her new partner, Cash Tankinson. Yes! One of my favorite new characters from the Batman. He's basically if Johnny Cage was a cop. He is so goofy and he is so full of himself, I can't help but love the guy. And he's really funny thanks to the super funny voice of Patrick Warburton. Patrick is one of the funniest voice actors of all time, voicing characters like Kronk and Buzz Lightyear, among a million other characters. His voice is so good, it makes everything he says sound funny. I mean it, he could be given the absolute worst lines but still make them hilarious because he's just that good. As is this character, because in the first minute we've met him, not only does he speak in the third person all the time, but he also always wears sunglasses even at night. I love this guy so much. He says he's the first partner Yin had since Ethan, and it's clear Yin is still not over what happened in the last episode. Cash drives as recklessly as possible until they arrive at the mayor's office, where Joker is knocking everyone out and taking the mayor. Joker also thinks Cash is super funny before he punches the cop with a boxing glove, knocking him and Yin out. Joker takes the mayor into his limo where his thugs are waiting. And we have to bring the counter down again, because his thugs, Punch and Judy, were arrested before, and now they're just walking around. So the Arkham escape counter is now at 13. Batman saw this go down and goes after the clown as Cash takes a motorcycle to follow because he's so awesome. Batman fights one of the Joker's goons on the limo, but Joker cuts half the limo off to make his getaway. Cash corners Batman because he has mad skills, but Yin blinds Cash temporarily so Bats can get away. Okay, that part doesn't make much sense. Cash is wearing sunglasses. The light shouldn't have hurt his eyes. Joker and the mayor starts playing as we see the mayor tied to a lamppost, and Joker sprays him with his gas and makes him smile. Joker shows off he's shooting on location at the mainstream bank and films it. Batman arrives to find the money stolen, as Joker says in the next episode they are going to have a new co-star, Cash Tankinson. Cash wants to go after the Joker, but Yin says no, because she doesn't want to lose another partner to the Joker. I really like this. It underlines her and Ethan's relationship and shows why they needed each other, and how even though she's not sobbing, this Clayface stuff has been really tough on her. She orders Cash to be put in a safe house, but he refuses, secretly going to find the Joker on his own. Bruce at the Batcave thinks if they send out a signal they can find where Joker is broadcasting from. The episode of JTV starts with the camera focusing on Cash. Yin calls to warn him, but he says if Joker's looking for Cash, it's payday. The man is a hero, he's an absolute icon, and if more people could be like Cash, we would have a better world. Cash finds the Joker, but the thugs ambush him from behind as Bruce figures out where the Joker is. The next JTV episode starts with a charity event. Oh, that's nice of the Joker. And the cause is saving Cash Cash's life, a very worthy cause. Joker put him in this bunny board thing and tells Gotham to pony up the $1 million or Cash is toast. They actually do start getting calls, and one of them is a 50 from Grandma Cash, who asks Joker not to hurt her grandson. I need to know more about Cash's life. I bet his grandma was a super spy assassin. I'm calling it. Batman rides off as Joker reveals the good people of Gotham only donated $200, so Joker gasses Cash, making him smile. Batman arrives, but it's too late and Joker is gone. Fortunately, Alfred has figured out where Joker is broadcasting from. Since Joker isn't broadcasting from an active network, he's using a deactivated radio tower. Batman arrives to see Joker standing by as his thugs capture the Dark Knight. He says he has a new episode planned that will make the people of Gotham laugh even if it kills them, showing off tanks of Joker gas throughout the city. They are set to go off as soon as the last episode of JTV airs, while also writing off the mayor and Cash, showing them hung up high. Joker throws Batman in the ring and says this will be the final episode, a boxing match. He starts broadcasting as his gas starts to unleash. Joker puts on the gloves and shows off this fight is rigged with Joker pumping gas through the ropes. Batman doesn't care as he brought an air breather and goes to the tower to stop the broadcast and Joker gas. Joker and his goons reach the tower first, and we get a nice reference to the Adam West show as Joker puts bam and pow in the broadcast as Batman is fighting. The gas starts making the people of Gotham laugh as Yin runs out to help. Batman takes out the Joker goons while also wrecking the broadcast, which was connected to the gas pumps. Joker tries to cut the hostage's rope, but Batman handcuffs Joker to the tower saying he's been cancelled as Yin saves Cash and the mayor. Batman and Yin work together to keep them safe and Joker gets arrested again. The mayor and Cash are healed up and Cash tells Yin the bad news. He needs a break from the action and is taking a desk job, meaning he's not going to be a main character moving forward. That should not stand. The disappointment on my face when I heard that. I needed this guy to be a main character going forward. In fact, we all need to collectively stand up and ask for Cash to return in some form. The cartoons, the comics, the movies, this guy needs to come back ASAP. The episode ends with Yin telling Cash it's okay. She has someone else watching her back. Characterization I'm giving a 5. Cash alone brings this up to a 5, and even if he wasn't there, Yin is great showing off she misses Ethan and regrets not being able to help him. The story gets a 5. It's the classic Joker plot, but the format is really fun. Joker is running his own TV station. Entertainment gets a 6. 2 words, Cash Tankinson. I mean it, he is such a fun character. I wish he showed up more. Importance gets a 4. This is a bit of a follow-up episode for the Clayface storyline, so I'd say it's worth a watch. Episode 9, Ragdolls to Riches. We open with Felix the Cat? Okay, maybe I queued up the wrong episode. I kid. This is Batman, or rather, this is Catwoman, breaking into this museum to steal the one and only drawing of the 1920s animation of Kitty Cat. Catwoman also got away the last time we saw her, so I'm not bringing down the Arkham escape counter. Unfortunately for her, she has some competition this time around, as this really creepy looking guy crawls out of the super small vents. This is Ragdoll, one of my favorite villains from this show. He was a minor villain from Batman's Rogues Gallery with the ability to fully contort his body to slip through anything. He has this awesome voodoo doll costume with the X on his face, and he's always smiling, which always makes me like a weird character. We'll see why he's one of my favorites in a moment, but for now he's voiced by Jeff Bennett, a great voice actor who has voiced a ton of characters like Kowalski, Johnny Bravo, and the Joker in the next Batman cartoon. Ragdoll is here for the cat drawing and shows off why I like him so much. The creepy way he moves around. He can twist his head all the way around and feels almost no pain. He swings his limp arms around and he uses them to trap Catwoman. Batman arrives and we see this awesome fight between him and Ragdoll because he integrates his power into his fighting style and it looks amazing. Ragdoll gets the better of Batman and steals the drawing while Catwoman also escapes. Back at her apartment, Selina is upset that Ragdoll stole her catch but is ready to find her next job. She attends a fancy party scouting for her next rich person to rob when she spots Bruce Wayne at the bar. She introduces herself as a fundraiser and they agree to have dinner at his place. They leave as Ragdoll rolls up in civilian clothes, spotting Bruce Wayne. After dinner at the Wayne, Selina excuses herself and takes photos of all the famous art pieces and wonders why the only guy in Gotham with her style is Batman. Alfred, meanwhile, finds a box at the door and it's Ragdoll who pops out. So this guy contorted himself into a box, taped himself up, and sent himself to the Waynes. That is so goofy and I love it. Ragdoll jumps into the place to steal whatever he likes. Bruce and Selina arrive and they can't do anything because they don't want to reveal their secrets to one another. They both decide to let him go but secretly put tracking devices on his bag. They both suit up and go go after Ragdoll, who rides on a moped, by the way. Batman stops Ragdoll, but Catwoman gets the better of both of them and makes off with the loot, while Ragdoll also gets away. Later, Selina admits she wants a prize that excites her, and she sees on the news that Bruce bought a clock tower built by his great-great-grandfather. This interests Selina because there is a rumor a mobster stashed the cat's eyes there, a pair of emeralds. This was set up by Bruce because Catwoman can't resist this treasure, and Ragdoll wants to get even with Catwoman. Later, Bruce is giving a tour of the clock tower, and Selina is there looking for a place to search. They talk outside, and it's flirty while Ragdoll finds the clock tower as well. Later that night, Catwoman and Ragdoll are searching the clock tower as Batman arrives to take them down, starting this awesome triple threat match. Ragdoll traps Batman in between gears to unmask the vigilante, but Catwoman saved him, saying she likes the mystery. Ragdoll falls in between gears, and it looks like he's been crushed, but he's Ragdoll, so that doesn't happen. He also found the emeralds in the gears, so Batman and Catwoman have to work together to stop him. The fight is amazing, with great animation that looks like it belongs in a high-budget anime. They all fight over the emeralds, with each of them getting the upper hand at some point, before Batman demands Catwoman hand them over since they rightfully belong to Bruce Wayne. Ragdoll steals the jewels while these two flirt, but they both take him down as Batman traps him in the gears. Catwoman gets the jewels and is about to run off, but Batman gives her the death stare and she gives them up. She is determined though and vows to get them from Bruce. Selina has dinner with Bruce and brings up the emeralds, and he reveals he sold them for 100 grand and gives the check to Selina for the charity of her choice. Selina is both disappointed and surprised by this. She's upset the emeralds are gone, sure, but this is when she realizes that Bruce may be more than meets the eye. The next day, Bruce calls the bank and confirms Selina did donate the check to the Gotham Pet Shelter, making Bruce think there is more to her than she lets on. Yeah, this romance tease goes nowhere, which is a shame. By the time season 4 rolls around, they drop the plotline, and I have to ask why. First off, this isn't super connected to the comic continuity. You can do whatever you want. If you want Catwoman to turn good and date bats, you should do it. Second, there are like no girls in the show. We get Batgirl in season 3 and Yin in the first 2 seasons, but other than that, it's pretty much a boys show. Now that's not necessarily a bad thing, but there are tons of female characters in the Batman comics, and you could have brought more over. Characterization, I'm giving a 4. Characters are pretty strong in this one. We get to see all the sides of Batman and Catwoman, as both their civilian and vigilante personas, and Ragdoll is good too. The story, I'm giving a 3. The story is not the strongest, just Catwoman and Ragdoll are competing, but it's a passable plot. Entertainment, I'm giving a 6. This is an exceptionally fun episode. The way Ragdoll moves makes the fights really dynamic, and his inclusion makes the Batman-Catwoman storyline flow better with great action. Importance gets a 5. It continues and arguably finishes the Catwoman-Batman romance storyline, so I'd say it's worth a watch. Episode 10, The Butler Did It. We open this episode at Wayne Manor, where Alfred takes one of the valuable vases and Batman chases after him. Alfred runs into the forest where Batman corners him and says Alfred is fired. This is all a dream, however, as Bruce walks into his room with the news that Alfred is in the papers for his upcoming charity work. Alfred gets out of bed to see he's wearing his clothes and his shoes are muddy, along with having the key to the vase case. They see the vase is gone, and according to the security footage, Alfred did indeed take it. Bruce thinks something is wrong since he knows Alfred wouldn't do this on his own. Later, Bruce is giving a speech to the High Priest of Zarkana for helping him with his charity and for helping him while he was abroad. The priest has traveled all this way to donate the Eye of Zarkana for the charity. Bruce and the 2 other guys get their photos taken, but when they go inside, they find one of the guy's butlers took all of his famous paintings. Alfred is looking for the vase until the clock strikes 8, and he goes into a trance, hearing a voice telling him to bring the valuables to him. Alfred goes into Bruce's safe and grabs a ton of money, but Bruce puts a tracker on him. He suits up and finds Alfred riding along with the butler from before and a 3rd guy, all of them in a trance. Batman figures out Alfred is under hypnosis and they get into a fight. Batman struggles to fight Alfred and gets knocked down while the butlers arrive to meet the mastermind, Spellbinder, played by Michael Mace. Spellbinder is another minor Batman villain from the comics that has had a ton of redos and retcons in the past. The power set stays mostly the same though, which is to mess with people's heads. He also appeared in the Batman Beyond series, although that was a very different version. I think he's an okay villain. I mean, he's not great, but he's fine. It's just hypnosis. It's not that interesting of a power. Little fun fact for you though, originally this was going to be the Mad Hatter, but because he was originally penned to be in the Christopher Nolan trilogy, they weren't allowed to use him here. Spellbinder floats in the air and shows off his 3rd eye, which he can use to get inside Batman's head and make him think he's seeing a huge monster that looks really cool, admittedly. Batman tries to make himself realize these are illusions, but the fire feels very real. Spellbinder summons these panda things to attack, and they take down Batman. Turns out they are just the butlers in disguise, but the Batwave starts waking him up, so Spellbinder books it with the goods. Bruce runs a scan on Alfred and shows that he's fine. It's Spellbinder who's doing this. Bruce explains during his time in the Far East, he went to a monk temple where they studied the mystic power of the 3rd eye, a state of awareness so pure it could turn visions into reality. Bruce thinks that Spellbinder is after the Zarkana gemstone and used the butlers to steal it for him. Alfred puts himself in lockup up as Bruce meditates to train his mind to defend against Spellbinder. Batman stakes out the charity as the High Priest brings the Eye of Zarkana. The clock strikes 8 o'clock and the billionaires get brainwashed. Alfred, watching this, figures out what happened. The photographer who took his picture along with the other butlers and the billionaires was Spellbinder, using the camera flashes to trigger hypnotic suggestions. This is a big problem because Bruce's photo was taken as well, so when the clock strikes 8, he gets brainwashed as well. Which is bad because if Spellbinder figures out he brainwashed Batman, Bruce's secret will be revealed. Alfred remembers the Batwave could break the spell, but he's locked in this room. The High Priest presents the Eye of Zarkana, but it's missing as the billionaires have taken it. They bring it to Spellbinder as Batman arrives as well, making Spellbinder wonder if Batman is Bruce. But Alfred wakes him up through the comms at the last moment. This makes Spellbinder think this was just a ruse and gets inside Batman's head again. The Dark Knight asks why a humble monk is acting like a criminal, and Spellbinder reveals the Eye of Zarkana can enhance his psychic powers. With the stone in his possession, he creates a nightmare world to torture Batman with some crazy monsters. While Spellbinder is a little bland, you can't say the same about his monsters. They look really cool. It looks like Batman is finished, but he remembers his training and keeps saying his mind perceives its own reality. This transforms him into a giant bat who fights the dragon monster, and Batman wakes up. Batman easily takes down Spellbinder from there, and the gem is returned for a great auction price. The episode ends with Bruce and Alfred happy that everything stolen was returned. Characterization, I'm giving a 2. Characters are pretty weak in this episode. I mean, they're fine with the standout being Bruce trusting Alfred no matter what, but Spellbinder has no character. The story is also getting a 2. Hypnosis plots are usually boring in action cartoons. I have no idea why, maybe they just don't interest me. Entertainment gets a 3. This one's a little higher because we see some cool monsters, but because they're monsters, there isn't much fighting, so it can be a bit boring. Importance, I'm giving a 1. There is very little reason to watch this episode. It feels very filler, but it's an okay episode, so it's not a complete waste. The final episodes of the Batman Season 2 were awesome. The last bump in the road for the Batman from 2004. One of the best DC cartoons in my opinion. Today we're going over the last 3 episodes of Season 2. And I say the last road because after this season there was a bit of a shift in a lot of ways. The show started to change and evolve, introducing characters like Batgirl, Robin, and Commissioner Gordon, as well as members of the Justice League. But that's Seasons 3, 4, and 5. We're talking about Season 2. With all that said, I'm Rocko from Reamlore, and let's dive in. By the way, if you're new here, make sure to like and subscribe. We upload videos just like this one on our Reamlore channel. We upload a great new video every Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday at 3 p.m., so make sure you're subscribed with that bell pressed to get notified when we upload. We're trying to hit 1,000 subscribers, so if you subscribe, it would mean a lot to us. Episode 11, Grundy's Night. We start this episode off on Halloween night. Yes, the Halloween episode. We see 2 kids go up to an old house where some creepy old twins greet them. They scare the kids by saying this isn't just any old Halloween, this is Grundy's Night. They point towards a nearby swamp and tell the tale. 150 years ago today, in that very swamp, a monster rose up from the muck and marched towards Gotham to wreak havoc on the architects who built buildings in Gotham. He got revenge on them, but it wasn't enough. He vowed to haunt the descendants of his victims when he returns during the total lunar eclipse on Halloween. The twin daughters say they know this because they are the granddaughters of one of Grundy's victims. After the kids go, it turns out they were just telling a story, but they soon find out it's real as Solomon Grundy breaks into their home. I love this version of Solomon Grundy. I always felt the big muscular version was done too much in DC. Pretty much every character had that physique at one point, and this design is great. He's a big tough guy, sure, but his skin is shriveled and his forearms are smaller, making it look like he's a corpse walking around. He's also very true to the character, played here by Kevin Greavox, who starred in a ton of horror movies and TV shows, so he was perfect for this. At Wayne Manor, Alfred dresses up like Sherlock and gets some trick-or-treaters dressed up like the Joker, Catwoman, and Penguin. Upstairs, Bruce is lighting up a jack-o'-lantern and they start talking about Solomon Grundy. Alfred is afraid of the legend while Bruce thinks it's just that, a legend, until he gets an alert on the Batwave. Batman arrives at the twins' home and asks who did this, and they say it was Solomon Grundy, and that today he has returned. They tell Batman about the other descendants, and Batman arrives to another location to find the building in shambles. Batman sees Grundy and tries to stop him, but the guy is known to be super strong. Some really good animation follows with Batman trying to keep ahead of Grundy, but he's too much, throwing the bat all over the place. Grundy starts taking out the support pillars and knocks down Batman before causing the place to collapse. Batman pulls himself out of the wreckage and sees someone trick-or-treating as Batman. Bruce goes back to Wayne Manor and tells Alfred about Grundy. Alfred has been reading about Grundy and tells him more about the origin. The swamp wasn't always a swamp, but rather a lake, home to the laborers who built Gotham. But 3 businessmen dumped their industrial waste into the lake, turning it into a swamp. The laborers who were Eastern European were kicked out of their homes. They then used their magic on Halloween night during the eclipse and formed Grundy from their swamp.
swamp. They figured if the industrialists wanted to make sure they had nothing, Grundy would make sure the industrialists had nothing. While the origin is a bit hokey, I think it's pretty ominous and cool. Plus, that's just the legend. We don't know the full detailed story, and that's what makes it more intriguing. Bruce heads down to the Batcave and takes some mud out of his cape to examine it. He's looking for any DNA in the mud so we can learn more about Grundy. He tells Alfred to finish the test while he goes out to find Grundy before the night ends and he goes away for another 150 years. Batman stakes out a wax museum and sees Grundy approaching, noticing he moves pretty fast for a zombie. Batman thinks he trapped Grundy inside, but nothing is in there except for a cat. Alfred calls him with the results and mentions there was DNA in the mud itself, which makes Batman realize the truth. Grundy appears and they fight again, with Batman saying it's time to lose the mask. He claws Grundy's face off and reveals this isn't Grundy. It's Clayface. Earlier when the cat walked out of the wax museum, that was Clayface in disguise. Batman says the Grundy destruction was a cover-up. What Clayface was really after was the Descendants' money. Something I haven't mentioned so far, at the other attacks the camera panned to the victims' empty safes. And why would a zombie need cash? I love the twist. Not only was this really well laid out and something you could figure out, but it brings back one of the best villains of the show in a different way. Plus it doubles down on the consequences of episode 7, how indeed Clayface isn't a tragic character anymore. He's a full-on villain. I also really like how Batman doesn't call him Ethan here. He calls him Clayface because he's accepted his friend is gone and he needs to stop this villain. I do have to bring down the Arkham escape counter though. Clayface was last seen in Arkham, but he's running around free as a bird. We're at 14. They get into a big fight and this is filled with tension because Batman has never beaten Clayface in a one-on-one fight. Clayface goes into the wax museum where he can disguise as anyone, forcing bats to follow. It's a pretty cool wax museum too, with some pretty creative designs for the creatures. Clayface starts doing hit and run attacks, but Batman follows a small part of his clay to find him. Using a clever trick, Clayface grabs Batman, but he gets free. They fight into the wax workplace and Clayface is about to melt him, but Batman turns the tables and encases Clayface in the wax. Back at Wayne Manor, Halloween comes to an end with Alfred thinking Grundy may still exist. The same kids who were told about Grundy are at a swamp, but leave when they realize nothing's happening. Unfortunately for them, Grundy does appear from the lake for one last scare as the eclipse finishes. I feel like this was the right call. While the Clayface twist is brilliant, it was a little disappointing we didn't see the real Grundy. This is the creators saying Grundy does exist and maybe we'll use him in the future. I mean, they really don't, but it's nice they tried. Episode 11 comes to an end, but how does it rank? Characterization I'm giving a 4. The strongest character moments are definitely from Clayface and Batman. Batman accepting that Ethan is gone and he needs to stop Clayface. The story I'm giving a 5. The Grundy lore we learn in addition to the brilliant Clayface reveal makes this a 5 easy. Entertainment also gets a 5. The fights in this are very cool. First, how Batman deals with Grundy plus the wax museum fight. It's nice stuff. Importance gets a 5. It's the return of the fully villainized Clayface and a continuation of the show's biggest story. It's a must-watch. Episode 12, Strange Minds. We open this episode with Yin in her apartment, while also finding a free pizza coupon under her door. She orders the pizza, but the guy on the other end says they'll deliver it in 30 seconds or less. They were telling the truth as Joker arrives to give her pizza and knocks Yin out. Also, he broke out again, so bring back the escape counter, it rolls up to 15. Elsewhere, Bruce is watching the opera where a clown is singing and Bruce is very bored. After the show, Bruce meets up with Hugo Strange, who is admiring the clown costume. Hugo says this costume was worn on stage by the Verse Pagliacci, worth its weight in gold. We learn that Hugo has been promoted to chief psychiatrist at Arkham Asylum, but Hugo is excited about what Wayne Tech is building. Hugo says he finds the criminally insane mind very fascinating and sees some of it as Joker shows up. He's here to steal the clown outfit and Hugo is surprised someone is out of Arkham. Dude, have you not been paying attention? There have been 15 breakouts in the last year. Your asylum is not that secure. Joker goes to attack Hugo, but Batman arrives and they get into a fight, with Batman beating Joker pretty easily. Hugo thinks they are both quite fascinating as Joker admits he kidnapped Yin. We see Yin has been tied up inside of a jack-in-the-box and dressed up like a jester. What's worse is she is surrounded by TNT. At Arkham, Chief Rojas is interrogating Joker, but because he's not very good at his job, he can't figure out where Yin is. Joker says he always wanted to stage his own opera. That's why he kidnapped Yin, and that soon there will be a big explosion unless they let him go. Hugo chimes in by saying Joker will never tell him, so he suggests using his new device. It allows Hugo to tap directly into someone's mind and volunteers to go in himself since it's untested. Batman has also been listening and brings the prototype of Hugo's device to the Batcave, since Wayne Tech had been helping its development. Bruce plans to go into the Joker's mind as well as find Yin's location, but Alfred says this is too risky. He has no choice though, so Hugo and Batman plunge into Joker's mind. Hugo enters Joker's mind and we are treated into a Joker world. Population, him. There are so many funny jokes in this, I can't recount them all. You need to watch this episode for yourself. This is also where we learn that Hugo doesn't care about Yin. He's more interested in learning about the Joker and goes after a kid Joker to learn about his childhood. Batman does care about Yin though, so he arrives on Joker World. Joker tries to kill Batman as he realizes he needs to pluck the subconscious mind for clues. He finds Joker's idea factory and it is filled with filing cabinets. While searching, Batman finds, believe it or not, who Joker was before the chemical tank. This guy is stamping insanity on papers, but all he really wants is to make people laugh. Even though he's terrified of the Joker, he tells Batman where to find the information as Joker cuts out the floor under his good self, and he falls into a vat of chemicals. I love that so much. It's very rare to see this in a Batman cartoon. Joker before he was Joker, and this is handled so well. We get a bit of tragedy here as it's clear Joker was once a normal, nice person before he fell into a vat of chemicals and went insane. There's also the great reenactment of what happened with Batman watching the guy fall. Joker pops out of the vat as we see a flash of Yin dying. At current schemes, Batman sees the Jack-in-the-Box, but Joker cuts him off. Batman runs into Hugo talking to Kid Joker, and Hugo wonders how Batman got in here. Hugo starts psychoanalyzing Batman and realizes this comes from a past trauma, from failing to save someone. Joker is upset because he's supposed to be center stage and sends Hugo away. Batman runs to the opera where Joker's performing the same play as before. Joker then creates what he hopes will happen, Yin blowing up and Batman being too slow to save her. Joker says failing to save Yin will drive Batman insane, and he helps that by telling an army of Jokers to beat up Batman and laugh in stereo. Batman starts to go insane, but Alfred's words snap him out of it, giving Batman new determination. Joker ties him up, saying he's pulling the strings and that he'll push Batman so far into his brain he'll never find his way out. Bat starts to go cold, but remembers this is a two-way transmission and drags the Joker out. Joker wakes up to see that Yin is safe and sound with Rojas and Hugo. The good doctor explains while Joker was busy playing with Batman, he was able to find out where Yin was by looking into his subconscious. Joker asks how they didn't find out sooner since Yin was under the Symphony Hall stage, and quickly realizes his mistake. They all take off their masks to reveal Batman. We're in his mind, and this was a trick to make Joker talk. Batman kicks Joker out and goes to save Yin, rescuing her at the very last moment. Joker starts crying, clearly seeing inside of Batman's mind had an impact on him. Hugo ends the episode giving his thoughts, saying while he glimpsed into Joker's madness, he's really interested in the Batman. Characterization I'm giving a 6. Getting glimpses into the Joker's past is really cool. It helps to flesh him out more. Plus, we get more insight into Hugo's character, being very interested in the insane mind. The story I'm giving a 5. It's a very strong story. Entering the mind of a madman is very interesting. Plus, the way Batman saves Yin is very well done. Entertainment gets a 6. There is so much fun going on in all directions with this one. The great action plus all of the references and in-jokes makes this very entertaining. Importance gets a 5. This is a look into Joker's psyche, and we get to see glimpses of Joker's past, making this a must-watch. Alright, the finale of Season 2, Episode 13, Night in the City. We start out this episode with the Arkham escape counter going out of control. Because despite literally last episode seeing Joker locked up in Arkham, here he, Punch, and Judy are flying around in a balloon trying to paint the city white. Their plan is interrupted though as Penguin flies in with his Kabuki girls and starts painting everything black. They start arguing about their turf and destroy their flying machines. They have an admittedly cool stare down that gets even better when a question mark appears on the building next to them. Riddler has arrived with his 6 goons to join the party. What is going on? Why even have them in Arkham if they're just going to run around some more in the next episode? Why not just have them get away at the last second in every episode if you want to use them more? What is the point of arresting them in this universe? It's spitting in the face of Batman's hard work because the police and prison staff are just so inept they can't hold anyone in there. Even the low-level goons break out. I wouldn't even be upset if they gave some narrative as to why they keep getting out, like Hugo Strange letting them escape. But there's nothing. It's lazy writing from episode to episode, plain and simple. So with everyone here previously in Arkham, the Arkham escape counter gets 13 more. So we are at, roll it up, 28. 28 escapes in less than a year. What is wrong with Gotham's prison system? Putting all that to one side though, this is freaking awesome. Not only because I'm a big fan of the Riddler, but because these 3 are the biggest bad guys in Batman's rogues gallery. Seeing them interact is a treat and something you should see for yourself. Riddler proposes a game to settle who gets Gotham. The first to capture and unmask Batman wins the city. So no matter who wins, Batman loses. This also makes me a little sad because this is is the very last episode to have the iconic original theme song. For some unknown reason, in season 3 and for the rest of the series, they introduce a new theme song which is just the worst. It's essentially a hip-hop remix of the Adam West Batman theme. 1, it's very poorly remixed, like I made it, and 2, it doesn't fit this show's atmosphere and tone. The first song was a perfect dark gothic rock tune that was so well crafted that fit this series perfectly. It makes me so sad that this is the last time I can hear the true theme song for the remainder of the show. So as the turf war continues, Chief Rojas says this is all Batman's fault. Of course he does. This just doesn't hold any weight. He's a bad character. There is no depth to Rojas. This newscast upsets Bruce because he doesn't want to work against the police, but there's nothing he can do. During this newscast, we also meet the new Gotham Commissioner of Police, Jim Gordon. Yes! We're finally bringing Jim Gordon into the show. One of Batman's most iconic characters, the ever-awesome Jim Gordon. He is played by Mitch Pileggi, who does a great job as Gordon. He's giving a statement about how they should deal with this crime wave, that maybe it's time they think outside the box. I'll be the first to admit this isn't my favorite version of Jim because he's a little underdeveloped, and you can't beat the one from Dark Knight, but this is still a good version. Rojas is determined to prove that he is the best officer ever and says they are going to nail the 3 criminals before Batman. Dude, you're not gonna catch Batman or any criminals if the advice you give your officers is try harder. Why not suit up and go after them yourself if you're so great? Yin calls Batman telling him to lay low, but he doesn't want to because of the 3 criminals at large. Batman tells her to meet with him, but Rojas was listening and arrests her. At the meeting point, Batman is ambushed by the police, which upsets the 3 villains all waiting outside. Fortunately for Bats, the lights get killed, allowing Batman to grab Yin and leave. They figure out it was Riddler as they run away from the police in the Batmobile. Riddler continues to help Batman by cutting off the police, which cues Batman in on their bet, especially when Penguin and Joker arrive. Joker and Penguin fly after Batman, leaving their goons behind. Batman and Yin find a transmitter where they thought the blackout started and get a message from Riddler. Joker and Penguin chase after Batman and Yin as they get trapped and rocketed away by the Riddler. When Riddler receives the package, however, he instead caught Joker and Penguin, so he orders his goons to eliminate them. In the Batboat, Batman figured out where Riddler was from his riddle. Again, it's a compulsion. He and Yin go after Riddler while Rojas also follows. This is where Gordon arrives and shows how awesome he is. He figures out that Batman has found the terrible trio and they should stay back and observe where he goes. We also get a little teasing for next season because Batman tells Yin to stay behind because she's not a sidekick. She's a partner. Joker and Penguin, meanwhile, agree to an alliance and take out Riddler's goons. They're about to take down Riddler too, but Batman arrives for the awesome showdown. It's like an old western with everyone standing off, and the fighting is excellent with some of the best animation of the season. Riddler operates a crane with his cane as Batman takes down Penguin. Joker comes close to taking down Batman, but Bats drops a bunch of pipes on the clown, taking him out. Riddler is the last one standing and tries to crush Batman, but Yin deactivated the crane and Batman takes down Riddler. Yin also turned all of the Riddler's question marks into bat signals, showing Gotham exactly who saved them. The police arrive to find the terrible trio along with Yin ready to go to Arkham. Rojas is ecstatic he gets to arrest Yin, but Gordon tells him to back off. Gordon agrees she did break the law, but another way to look at this is she helped bring in 3 of Gotham's most dangerous criminals. Arresting a hero would not look good on the department, especially since Rojas hasn't been able to bring down anyone. Gordon forces Rojas to return Yin's badge, and he says she did a good job. And this is where we say goodbye to these characters. Yeah, I'm not kidding. After this episode, we never see Rojas or Yin again. That is really strange. They never even had a proper send-off or anything like that. The episode ended with both of them still around. You assume they would still play a factor in future episodes. The reason they canned Rojas was pretty obvious. Now that they had Gordon, they didn't really need Rojas anymore. I was a bit disappointed because there was potential for Rojas to be a villain, but frankly, he was a total jerk and I'm happy to watch him leave. Losing Yin was a bigger loss in my opinion. She was a great character and had a fun dynamic with Batman. The reason why she left is debated, but it's assumed that the reason is because Ming-Na Wen couldn't reprise the role. Some say it's because she wanted more money, some say it was because of her schedule. Frankly, we'll never know. I don't totally believe that since you could just replace the voice actor. That happens all the time in animation. If someone can't do their role, you just replace them. It may also be the creators didn't feel like her character was necessary anymore since they were introducing Batgirl in season 3. And if that is the case, fine, but Yin definitely needed a proper send-off. We're not done yet though because Gordon set up the bat signal and called for a meeting with Batman. Gordon tells Batman that chasing him is counterproductive and a waste of resources, so they should form an alliance. He shows off a paper telling the story of how Batman saved everyone, and that everyone is behind Batman. Gordon wants them to work together so they can make Gotham a safe place for his daughter to live in. And of course, Batman agrees, swinging off to end the season. That's the finale, but how does it rank? Characterization, I'm giving a 6. While Gordon Gordon is not fully developed, he shows up with all the charm that made Gordon so likable in other Batman projects. Plus, the three villains bouncing off each other is fantastic. The story I'm giving a 4. It's a pretty weak story, to be honest, just three criminals trying to unmask Batman, but it's elevated by the grandeur of the game. How the biggest criminals in Gotham are competing to take down Batman. Entertainment gets a 5. The fighting is excellent, exceptionally good animation, and this makes it a highlight of the whole series. Importance also gets a 5. It's the big season 2 finale and the introduction of Jim Gordon. It's a pretty important episode you shouldn't miss. That brings season 2 to a close, as well as our journey delving into the world of the Batman. Thank you all so much for watching this series. It was one of my favorite shows to watch, and I had a lot of fun making this series. So thank you to everyone who watched the videos. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all later.